All right, imagine this. You've just watched Daenerys Targaryen burn down King's Landing. The city's in ashes, thousands are dead, and the so-called Breaker of Chains has become the ultimate destroyer. Now the camera pans to Jon Snow, broken, confused, standing in the aftermath, and right behind him, Arya Stark. But what if Arya never trusted Jon again? What if she believed he had joined Daenerys, or worse, helped her do it? This is not your usual Game of Thrones theory. No, this is darker. This is twisted. This is, what if Arya Stark killed Jon Snow, thinking he was a traitor? Let's rewind. Let's start the moment Jon stabs Daenerys in the throne room. The music is low, haunting. He kisses her, whispers something, then, boom, dagger in the heart. She falls. Drogon screams. You know the scene, but what you didn't see was Arya. In this timeline, Arya followed him inside. She'd already been suspicious. She saw him spending too much time with Daenerys. She heard the whispers from unsullied soldiers, from the Dothraki, how Jon seemed to understand Daenerys' vision, how he kept defending her, even when she burned Varys alive, even when she set the entire capital on fire. So when Arya walks into the throne room, just moments after Jon drops Daenerys' lifeless body, all she sees is the man she once trusted, holding the blood-soaked dagger. Her eyes lock on the scene. Jon looks shocked, guilty, his hands trembling. The Iron Throne looms behind him like a cursed relic. Arya's hand slowly moves to Needle. Now, let's pause here. This isn't just about Daenerys. This is about everything. Arya saw her father die because of politics. She watched the Red Wedding happen because of betrayal. She trained with the Faceless Men to survive in a world where trust gets you killed. And now, the one man she believed in, her half-brother, the honor-bound Jon Snow, has just murdered a queen. Not in a duel, not in a fight, but like an assassin. And here's the worst part. He doesn't look sorry. He doesn't explain. He just looks at her and says, "It had to be done." That's when Arya's world breaks. To her, it sounds just like what Cersei would say, or Littlefinger, or anyone else who used power as an excuse for murder. And here's where the real twist begins. Arya doesn't attack him then and there. No, she walks away quietly. She says nothing, not to Jon, not to Tyrion, not even to Sansa. But her mind is made up. To her, Jon Snow is now just another name on her list. You see, in this new timeline, Arya never forgives. She doesn't believe in reasons. She believes in justice, her kind of justice. She disappears for days. Jon doesn't even know she saw him that day. He thinks she understands, that they're on the same page, that they'll all go home to Winterfell and try to rebuild. But Arya, she's already planning. She's watching him. She notices how the Unsullied don't arrest Jon, how Drogon flies off with Daenerys' body but doesn't attack Jon. It all looks too clean, too convenient. In Arya's mind, the man who once refused to kneel, who once said, "The North is my home," now just handed the throne to Bran. And she thinks, maybe Jon never wanted the throne because he already had the power behind the scenes. Maybe he killed Daenerys not to save the realm, but to become a Shadow King. And that thought, it eats at her. Every night, until one night, just before Jon plans to leave for the night's watch. Arya makes her move. She waits in his room at Dragonstone, quiet, hidden, and when he walks in, she doesn't say anything. She just steps out from the shadows, needle in one hand, catspaw dagger in the other. Jon stares at her. "Arya!" She doesn't answer. He walks toward her slowly, confused. "What's going on?" Then she says it. "You broke everything. I believed in you, and you turned out to be just like them." Jon's frozen. He doesn't understand. I killed her to stop the madness, he says. And who stops you? Arya whispers. Then she lunges. So when we left off, Arya had just drawn her blades on Jon Snow. She stood there, trembling with rage, thinking about everything she had lost, her family, her innocence, and now her trust in the one person she thought would never betray her. Jon's face is full of confusion. He's not scared. He never is. But you can see the hurt in his eyes. This is Arya, his little sister, the one who gave him Needle, the one he hugged with tears in his eyes when they were finally reunited in Winterfell. And now, she's standing in front of him with that very same blade pointed at his throat. Arya, Jon whispers again, taking a slow step forward. You don't understand. I didn't want any of this. But Arya's not buying it. Her voice is sharp, like the edge of her dagger. You killed her, just like that. No trial, no justice. You became executioner and king in one move. That's not you. That's never been you. Jon shakes his head. I did it because I had to. She was going to burn more cities. More people would have died. Tyrion saw it. You saw it, Arya snaps. I saw a mad queen, but I also saw you kneel to her. I saw you love her. You were right there with her until the very end. And now she's gone, and you're still here. Why? And that's the line that stabs deeper than any blade. Because Arya doesn't just think Jon made a hard choice, she thinks he was part of the madness, that he let it all happen, and when it got too ugly, he cleaned it up the Stark way. Quietly, cleanly, with blood. Jon can't believe what he's hearing. I loved her. Yes, but I couldn't follow her after what she did. I ended it to save the realm. You think I wanted this? I killed the woman I loved. But Arya's heard these speeches before. She's heard them from Cersei, from Littlefinger, from every man who used love or duty to justify horror, so she attacks. It's fast, almost too fast. Needle flashes, and Jon barely blocks with the scabbard at his side. They clash, steel to steel. And for a moment, it's not a brother and sister fighting. It's two trained killers. Arya, the faceless assassin. Jon, the hardened warrior. The room becomes a battlefield. Jon doesn't want to fight. He keeps dodging, parrying, trying to disarm her without hurting her. But Arya, she's fighting like this is life or death, because to her, it is. If Jon Snow really is corrupted, if he really has turned into another power-hungry ruler hiding behind honor, then she has to stop him. She gets in a cut on his shoulder. Blood soaks through his tunic. Jon grits his teeth. You're wrong, Arya, he says through clenched teeth. I haven't changed. I'm still me. Arya answers coldly. That's what makes this so hard. Just then, the door bursts open. Grey Worm and two unsullied guards storm in, drawn by the sound of swords. They freeze when they see the two Starks locked in combat. Grey Worm shouts, "What is this? What's going on?" Jon backs away, breathing hard. Arya lowers her blade but doesn't drop it. She looks at Grey Worm and says, "He killed your queen. Why do you let him walk free?" Jon looks at Arya like she just stabbed him in the heart. "You're handing me over?" he asks, voice cracking. Arya stares at him. "I'm giving you the justice you denied Daenerys." Grey Worm doesn't hesitate. He steps forward, grabs Jon's arm, and for the first time, Jon doesn't resist. He just stares at Arya, broken. "You don't know what you've done," he says quietly. Arya looks away. Jon is dragged out of the room, bleeding, betrayed, and shackled. And just like that, the North's greatest warrior, the hero of the battle, of the bastards, the man who faced death more than once, is now a prisoner. Arya walks out slowly, back straight, face cold, but her hands won't stop shaking. because even though she won the fight, something deep inside her feels wrong. She didn't just cut Jon Snow's flesh, she cut the last thread holding their family together, and this is just the beginning. So now, Jon Snow is a prisoner. His hands are bound in chains, his face is bruised, shoulder wounded from Arya's blade. And Arya, she's gone silent, cold. She doesn't visit him, doesn't speak his name. It's like he never existed. But the news spreads like wildfire. Sansa Stark, Queen in the North, hears everything. She arrives in King's Landing with a small northern guard, her face unreadable, but her eyes burning. As soon as her boots hit the Red Keep, she demands answers. "What happened to my brother?" she says to Tyrion. Tyrion looks exhausted. He's in the dungeons, arrested by the Unsullied. Sansa blinks slowly, barely keeping her rage in check. "Why?" "Arya turned him in," Tyrion says. "She believes he murdered Daenerys for his own gain," Sansa scoffs. "So he's being punished for doing the one thing no one else had the courage to do?" Tyrion shrugs. That's one way to look at it. The other is, maybe he broke. Maybe Daenerys took something from him we didn't see, and Arya saw that. Sansa doesn't answer, because deep down, she knows both Arya and Jon too well. Arya trusts no one. And Jon, he never lies, but sometimes he hides the truth even from himself. So Sansa demands to see Jon. She walks into the dark cell where he's sitting, hunched over, looking more like a ghost than the man who once led armies. The chains on his wrists clink softly as he looks up. "Sansa," he says, voice dry and cracked. She kneels beside him. "Tell me it's not true." "I killed Daenerys," he says without hesitation, "but not for power, for peace." "And Arya?" she asks. "Why? Would she betray you?" Jon looks away. "She thinks I've become what we all fought against." Sansa shakes her head. "No, Arya doesn't do betrayal. She does justice, or what she thinks justice looks like." Jon sighs. "Maybe she's right. Maybe I crossed the line." But Sansa grabs his hand. "You're not like the others, Jon. You never were, and I won't let our sister destroy the last Stark who remembers what honor means. Now listen carefully, because this is where the game begins." Sansa walks straight to Bran, the boy who became the three-eyed raven, the king no one expected, and now the one man who could free Jon or let him rot. She tells him everything, but Bran, he's hard to read. He sits in silence, staring into nothing. Then finally, he says one thing. Arya is not wrong, but neither is Jon. Sansa stares at him. "Then do something. Speak. Decide." Bran closes his eyes. The wheel isn't broken yet. It's just been passed to a new set of hands. And that's when it hits Sansa. Bran won't intervene. Because, to him, this chaos, this divide between Arya and Jon, it's part of what must happen. He sees time like a river, and sometimes rivers need to flood before they settle. But Sansa isn't the three-eyed raven. She's a Stark. She's a queen, and she's not letting her brother die over a mistake. So she goes to Arya. The reunion is tense. They meet in the God's Wood of King's Landing, a place full of whispers, old blood, and broken oaths. Sansa's calm, but there's steel in her voice. "You should have come to me before you went after him." Arya doesn't blink. "He betrayed everything we fought for. I saw it in his eyes, Sansa. He didn't hesitate." Sansa fires back. "And you did? You almost killed him." Arya just says, "I would have." And there it is. The rift. Two sisters. Two queens in their own right. But now, opposing forces. Sansa makes one final offer. "Come home. We'll deal with this the northern way. We settle it as a family." Arya's jaw clenches. Families protect each other, not when they become monsters. She walks away, and Sansa realizes Arya's not coming back, not to Winterfell, not to their family. She's on her own path now, a path that ends with blood. But Sansa, she's not giving up. She doesn't care what Bran thinks or what Arya's seen. She knows one thing for certain: Jon Snow cannot die. Not like this. So, she does the unthinkable. She starts rallying Northern bannermen inside King's Landing, a rebellion. Maybe, or maybe it's justice. But one thing is clear: the wolves have turned on each other. So now the board is set. Jon Snow, locked in a dungeon, betrayed by his own blood. Arya Stark, colder than ever, convinced she stopped a monster before he could rise. And Sansa is done playing politics. She's raising northern flags inside King's Landing. She knows time is running out. Word spreads fast. Sansa's gathering bannermen, small houses that once followed Robb, lords that fought in the Battle of the Bastards. Northern blood remembers. And they don't forget Jon Snow, the man who gave his life for the realm. Some whisper it's a rescue mission. Others say it's a coup. But one thing is certain: Sansa has no intention of letting her brother rot in chains because her sister played judge, jury, and executioner. She meets secretly with Tyrion and Davos. She lays it out, plain and simple. You let him die, the North breaks away forever. Bran or no Bran. Tyrion rubs his temples. You want us to challenge Arya Stark? You think that ends clean? Davos leans in. It's already messy. Best we choose what side of history we're on. Meanwhile, Arya's not sitting still. She's watching from the shadows. She sees the movement, the whispers, the banners being quietly unrolled. She's been trained by the Faceless Men. She can sense rebellion in the air, and it confirms her fear. Jon was never going to face justice. They were always going to make him a martyr. So she decides something. If no one else will finish this, she will, but she won't kill Jon in a cell. No, she'll give him a warrior's death, a Stark death. So she walks right into the dungeon the next night. No guards, no weapons drawn. Just her and two blades hidden beneath her cloak. Jon sees her and laughs softly. You're really going to end this, aren't you? Arya nods. You don't deserve chains, she says, but you don't deserve freedom either. Jon stands, bloody, beaten, but still holding that fire behind his eyes. You think you're right. That's what scares me. Arya tilts her head. And you think you're still a hero. That's what breaks me. But before she can move, before a blade even flashes, boom, the walls shake, the door explodes. Northern soldiers rush in. Behind them, Sansa. She yells, "Stop!" Arya and Jon freeze. Sansa storms in like the Storm Queen she's become. Hair braided. Like a true Stark, fury in her eyes. I said stop, Arya glares. You shouldn't be here, Sansa gets in her face, and you shouldn't be acting like a god. Arya doesn't flinch. You weren't there. You didn't see what I saw. In him. Sansa points at Jon. I saw him die for the realm. I saw him fight the Night King. I saw him ride into battle while everyone else ran. What did you see, Arya? A man who made an impossible choice? Arya shouts, I saw a man who killed a queen. Sansa fires back, a queen who burned children alive. The tension in that room could slice steel. But then, Jon speaks. No more. He steps forward, blood still dried on his shirt, chains still rattling on his wrists. You're both fighting over ashes. I killed Daenerys. Not for power, not because I hated her. I did it because I couldn't live with what she'd become. He looks at Arya. I would have rather died, but she wouldn't stop, and you know that. Arya's face cracks. Just a little, because deep down, she did know. Jon looks at Sansa. And if the price of peace is my life, I'll pay it. But Sansa doesn't let him finish. No, she says, that price has been paid too many times by people like us. Not again. Then comes the twist. Tyrion arrives, breathless. You all need to come. Now, it's Bran. They rush to the throne room, and what they find is not what they expected. Bran, king of Westeros, is sitting alone. No guards, no council, just him, and an old book in his lap. He looks up. I saw this coming, he says. All of it, Arya asks. Then why didn't you stop it? Bran's answer, because this is how the wheel breaks. And just like that, the world shifts again. So now the throne room is dead silent. Bran Stark, the boy who fell, the three-eyed raven, the king no one expected, is sitting on the Iron Throne, not speaking to his court, not holding counsel, just reading. And when Sansa, Arya, Jon, and Tyrion storm in, he simply looks up and says, "This was always going to happen." Everyone freezes. Sansa narrows her eyes. "What are you talking about?" Bran closes the book gently. "I saw the wheel, the real wheel, not thrones or crowns or wars. I saw the patterns, the lies we inherit from kings, the loyalty we fake, the choices we pretend are our own." He looks directly at Jon. "You think you chose to kill Daenerys, but you didn't. Every step that brought you here was planned. Your resurrection, your loyalty, even your love." Jon steps back, almost dizzy. "Planned by who?" Bran simply says, "By time itself." Everyone's like, "What?" But Tyrion. Tyrion's the first to catch on. "This isn't about justice," he mutters. "You let Jon rot in chains, let the North fall into civil war, just to prove a point?" Bran nods. "Because now they'll see what happens when even the most honorable man is torn down." Sansa glares. "You're manipulating everyone." Bran finally lets emotion slip into his voice, a whisper of something darker. "I had to. The realm won't survive if people keep waiting for heroes to save them. I needed to kill the idea of heroes. Jon Snow had to fall." Arya steps forward now, fists clenched. "You used me. You knew I'd go after Jon. You saw it in your visions. You just sat back and let it happen." Bran's eyes flicker. "You were never going to kill him. That's why I let it play out." Arya's voice drops. "You don't know what I'm capable of." Bran stares at her, flat. "I do. And that hits her in the gut. Because for the first time in her life, Arya feels like someone has outplayed her. But it gets worse." Bran finally turns to Jon. "I'm releasing you." Just like that. Chains off, no trial, no punishment. Just free. Jon's stunned. "Why now?" Bran says. "Because the world must see you walk away. Not as a king, not as a hero, but as a broken man who couldn't save anyone. That's how the new realm begins. With truth." Sansa is furious. "You mean with shame?" Bran nods. "Yes." He gives Jon a horse, a sword. No fanfare. No goodbye. Just one last message. Go north, and don't come back. Jon looks to Arya, to Sansa, but neither moves, because they know now. They've all been played. This was Bran's game from the beginning, and as Jon rides out of King's Landing in silence, under the cover of night, not as a king, not even as a brother, he disappears into shadow. But here's the catch. Arya watches him go, and something in her heart cracks. For the first time, she starts to doubt everything. Not Jon. Herself. And Bran. He closes his eyes on the Iron Throne and says just one word. Begin. Because you see, Bran doesn't just want to break the wheel. He wants to rebuild it in his image. And the first step? Tearing down every symbol of the old world, including the Starks themselves. So Jon Snow is gone, not dead, but exiled, disgraced, alone. He rides into the snow-covered north, further than the wall, beyond the lands of men, past the ruins of Eastwatch, where the wind whispers old names. Ghost is the only one who walks beside him. He doesn't look back, and in King's Landing, Bran sits the throne, colder than ice, not cruel, not wicked, but still, like winter itself, rules with silence, with logic, with the absence of love. And something about that is terrifying. The lords obey because they fear chaos. The small folk obey because they fear war. But the wolves, the true wolves, they're not done yet. Arya is broken. She watches Jon vanish, and for once, she doesn't know if she was right. She thought she was a judge. Maybe she was just a weapon. And Sansa. She's done watching. She gathers her bannermen, publicly now. No more whispers. She declares the North fully independent. Not part of Bran's realm of peace. Not under the rule of a boy who thinks visions replace honor. Bran doesn't blink. He lets her go. But deep inside Winterfell, Sansa finds something. Bran had left behind. A letter, a sealed raven scroll. She reads it, and her face changes. It's not about her. It's about Jon. The letter reveals a final twist. Bran saw a future where Jon would rise again, not as a king, but as a symbol, a myth, a legend who walked into the snow and never returned. So the people would imagine their own version of him. He would become more powerful than any throne, and Bran needed that. So he let Arya turn on him. He let Jon fall, because in death or exile, he'd be eternal. Sansa realizes it now. Bran wasn't saving Westeros. He was controlling the story. She calls a secret council. Not lords, not fighters, just the Starks. She summons Arya. She even travels to find Rickon's bones. She kneels before the godswood and whispers to their father, "We were never meant to be pawns." Then she makes her move. She sends a message. To Jon, carved in the wood of an old tree just beyond the wall. A symbol only a Stark would recognize. A promise in a single line. The pack survives. And far beyond the frost, Jon finds it. He stares at it for a long time. And he makes a decision. He gathers wildlings. Not to fight, but to build. He starts shaping something out there. A new realm. Not ruled by kings or visions, but by truth. By survival. By the blood in the snow. Jon Snow, who once had nothing, now has freedom. And here's where the story takes its final twist. Years pass, Arya sails west of Westeros. Sansa rules the north, wiser than ever. But tales spread across taverns, across villages, about a man in the far north who cannot die. A man who rides with wolves and ghosts, who teaches strength, not fear. And in the shadows of the Iron Throne, Bran listens, and he smiles, because even now, even after all of it, Jon Snow is still part of his plan. But what Bran didn't expect was that the people would stop worshipping kings and start believing in something older, something colder, something wild. The man who had nothing. The wolf who walked alone. The last Stark.